The Kansas City Chiefs are 3-0, so you just got to assume that everybody's happy. Well, at least Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes can't be publicly talking about the fact they're not playing the football they want to be playing, right? I mean, they're undefeated. Did you guys see what happened on Monday Night Football? Jaden Daniels looked good. Bad Bengals defense. Bills seem pretty good. Jags, not good. Doug Peterson, welcome back. Give it a few months. We'll start looking for real estate. But, I mean, they're 3-0. Certainly things are fine. Right? Right?
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank. If you're thinking about starting a business or know someone who is, check out Emprise Bank's SBA loans. It's always good to know your options, and they can be your partner in possible.
Nobody has the right to be surprised that it was a weird game that the Chiefs played, as they were victorious on Sunday Night Football over Kirk Cousins' Atlanta Falcons. But there were some genuinely weird things that deserve a little more time to break it down. We'll do that here today on Only Weird Games on KC Sports Network. I'm Joshua Brisco with Seth Keysor. Nate Taylor will join in progress. Seth, we are 3 games in. The Chiefs have beaten 2 teams that have an impact in the AFC race, or at least did at the time they played them. The Bengals are on slip and slide watch. I think the Ravens are still frisky enough to not want to maybe see them in the playoffs, but the Chiefs handled that business. They've got the 1 seed in the AFC. They're neck and neck with Buffalo, and we'll see if that gets settled in mid-November, but it was every bit as odd as a road game against an NFC team in week 3 on primetime can possibly be. Yeah, nobody's over the moon, but 22-17, that's more points than the other team.
That is. You know what? We can be sure of one thing, Josh. When the game ended, the Chiefs had more points than the other team.
Huzzah! Huzzah! Yeah, celebration in the streets.
This was my tweet right after the game ended. Super normal season so far. Not at all stressful. This is fun. Look, I'm aware, and our friend Birdlaw or Austin, he's aware. We as Chiefs fans have very little to complain about.
Yeah.
I get that.
But
there's something, you'd think, really what's happening here is I'm paying for my own hubris. And I'm gonna tell a quick side story which shocks many people, I'm sure, that I'm gonna take a long road to a short thought. Years and years ago, because I was raised a pastor's kid and I was involved in my church. So as Jazz and I were raising a family and stuff, and I, of course, helped be a youth leader because that's what you have to do. I'm pretty sure it's contractually obligated. If you're a pastor's kid, you have to do that one day.
That's right.
And people would always ask me, are you going to be a pastor, Seth? You should join the ministry because for reasons. And I always said, if the sky opens and God points in my face, maybe. Well, long road to a short thought, because I continually said dumb things like that don't take into account life and the way some of those things work.
Downright Saul baiting. I mean, yeah, you're like
Saul baiting is a great term. And then, of course, I ended up becoming a campus pastor and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I kept saying, not last year, but in 2022, where I was just like, we've reached the point that I'm not too stressed about regular season games anymore. And if you want proof that God exists, we're not going to make a historical or otherwise argument, cosmological. We're not going to do that. I'm going to point to you the 2023 and 2024 Chiefs seasons as God looked down and said, wow, Seth said something stupid. I bet he doesn't mean it. And started just poking, just over and over. Because these last 3 games, I shouldn't care as much as I do. I know the regular season doesn't matter that much. They would have to have a collapse to not make the playoffs, and that's when it matters the most. And they showed last year they can do anything, and Patrick Mahomes is a superhuman, and none of it really matters until January, February. But, oh my goodness, I just wanted one game.
No! Stop it! You can't come on this show and be like, I just wanted one. It's not called One Normal Game, Seth. That's not the name of the podcast.
Usually weird games.
Not what it's called.
We could talk about this occasionally. Most often weird games nearly always weird games. I just want one where, like, at least last year in week 3, we had the Bears, like, laugher.
Yeah,
that was fun.
Taylor Swift was there. They put up 40.
Yeah. And I can't have Jazz tell me one more time how much she loves close games, because it's going to cause a rift in my marriage. Because I'm just like, honey, I'm going to die sooner than I need to, which maybe that's the...
Yeah, I'm worried about it causing a rift in your heart or something. That's sort of my concern at this point.
So, yes, it was a very weird game, and even more so when I've now that I've really dove into the film for the offense. I haven't looked at a ton of the defensive film. I've looked at some. Honestly, shout out to the defense.
Yeah.
They make the stop in the fourth quarter, give the Chiefs the ball back. After the Chiefs failed on a drive early in the fourth that could have really put the game away. Hey, we got you the ball back. It's 22-17. We held them to a field goal, I think it was there, to where they couldn't really get within a touchdown. Here's your chance to make it a 2-score game again. Oh, no, you punted. Okay. Well, we'll get you the ball back again. Oh, no, you immediately went 3 and out. Okay. Well, we'll get you the ball back again. You immediately went 3 and out again?
Again?
That's exhausting. I got exhausting saying that version of events. I can't imagine doing it. So, hey, shout out to the Chiefs defense. Shout out to Nick Bolton, who, in true Nick Bolton fashion, because you know what I've decided? I think Nick Bolton understands content. I think he understands.
Really?
He's such a great player that I've realized what's actually happening now. He's such a great player. He's such a smart player that he understands that even when he makes a game-deciding play, he should do it in a way to where the force player that actually made the play wasn't him, to where we can all fight about whether or not that was a great play by Bolton. It was. Great gap shooting, a terrific tackle. And Leo Chanel actually did the more important part of the play. That is what a team player does, and a guy who understands content. My other tweet immediately following the game, always been a big Nick Bolton fan. Cornerstone of the defense, franchise building block. So
core 10, core 11 for sure.
Yeah. Core, yeah. What are we up to? Are we up to 11 now?
I think we definitely have a full field. Let's do this. Let's do this. Nate's not here yet. He'll be here. You know what Nate's not going to want to do when he gets here? Talk about the ding-dang defense. Let's just cannonball straight to the defense here, because I do think more of the interesting, nitpicky stuff is on the offensive side. Partially because it's already what you've rewatched. All of us have rewatched that, but the things you've gotten into the weeds for are about some of the offensive things, and I do think the defense deserves more than the discussion they've gotten to this point.
Absolutely.
Tucker made this point in our group chat last night, which is that so opening drive, Falcons just drive and score a touchdown. Opening drive was like, oh, they can, okay. Oh, well, okay.
We were all spooked. Spooked because it looked exactly like LaFleur's offense against them last year. I was like, that is a lot of under center play action that's sending them the wrong direction.
Well, at least it wasn't immediately followed by an 8.5-minute turnover drive. So at that moment, literally all now nearly into the second quarter. I mean, we are 2 drives took up like 13 minutes of the game. It is 7-0 Falcons, and they cut through butter, and then the Chiefs cut butter and gave it right back. And then here's what the Falcons did the rest of the game. Punt, touchdown, after a third down stop was negated due to a Chris Jones roughing the passer penalty.
Horrific
punt,
ball.
Interception, kneel down at the end of the half. Punt, field goal, turnover on downs. I will say on the roughing thing, I am holding on to a version of the NFL that no longer exists, and I'm acknowledging that. I would take that 100% of the blame on the roughing thing. I'd give 30% of it to Chris Jones, who probably ought to know that if he does anything that looks scary to a veteran quarterback, he's going to get flagged. I'd give 30% to the refs, who should know better that Chris Jones was getting his face mask pushed up. I'm not even calling for an illegal hands to the face. He just couldn't see. He could not see Kirk Cousins at that point. I'm saying 30% on the refs, who ought to know and to keep the flag in their pocket because there was no malice or violence anywhere through that. And then the remaining 40%, the largest part of the pie, can go straight to the NFL for totally poisoning the well on anything resembling affecting a quarterback. It's not stressing me out. If this is the episode we talk the least about refs this year, I'll be fine with it. But that was the penalty that extended what would have been an upcoming punt for Atlanta. The defense was fabulous
Absolutely.
from that moment on, I guess, or from that corresponding following touchdown on, it was a great performance from them without a specifically dominant performance, I would argue. It wasn't a total Chris Jones takeover game. Trent McDuffie wasn't perfect, although that pass interference he should not be held responsible for. Talking about the refs again. That I think, and we can spend some more time on the linebackers as well, but I think all in all, the defense deserves more credit for a real team effort that is the reason they won that game by and large.
Absolutely. And I think we were all afraid what Kyle Pitts might do to the Chiefs defense. They gave up a couple big plays, but they overall tightened things up against tight ends. Justin Reed had a really rough first drive, but then he kind of tightened it up too. I think he's playing a little nicked up. Bolton,
no one can run on this defense, by the way. 3 teams in a row. Lamar Jackson, and Derrick Henry, the Bengals group, Bijan Robinson, cannot run. Can't do it.
They've Spags seems to be delineating a little more resources to that. Some of it I do think you can chalk up to Leo, although he only played 14 snaps.
Crazy. And I think had hit 8 impacts or something.
He had some real impact plays there. Bolton played by far his best game of the season. I didn't notice him in any. Now, it's really hard. One thing, and this is good advice for anyone, when you're watching a game live, unless you can tell for sure, either during the play or on the replay, that someone's in man coverage on a guy, I'd be cautious about assigning blame to any particular guy, including Bolton or Justin Reed or whoever it is, because really the pendulum was starting to really swing on Nick Bolton. To where people are he stinks, he's the worst player. It's like, oh no, that was never really the conversation. Let's have a reasonable, someone can be something like, not here or here, but more here, just right in the middle. But he wasn't in the middle in this game. He made a bunch of really, really good plays, saved a couple plays by finishing really strong with really great tackles. But you're right. It wasn't any one guy. Jalen Watson made some good plays. Brian Cook made some good plays. Got away with one at the end. I'm going to call it even because the refs really did. The Chiefs would have gotten the ball back down a little bit with 2 minutes left. And even on a bad day, the Chiefs are going to go down and kick a field goal and win. That's going to happen. And the refs did give the Falcons 3 straight makeup calls the next drive that got them right into position. So I'm calling that even. Fair enough. We're calling it even. Anyway, Cook made some good plays. Turk Wharton. You know what? Good on Turk. I don't see Turk emerging to being a second dude in the pass rush, but he has gone from winning his one-on-ones that he's for years gotten because he's playing next to Chris Jones. For one, he's playing more snaps by far than he has any other year, but he's responding well. And now he's gone from winning one of those a game to 3 or 4 of those a game. And the difference that makes, that might not sound huge, but that is massive. He forced that pick, which was a huge play. It's been really cool to see him really just start to crank things up another notch, which they need. They still have a problem that they don't have another dude besides Chris Jones. That remains a problem. And even against the Falcons, you could see that being a problem. And hey, shout out to Big Mike Pennell for the sack. That, if that's any other quarterback in the league who's not completely immobile at this point, that is not a sack. That is a scramble for a first down. But
was that more or less impressive to you than Felix's sack?
Slightly less.
Because he was literally sitting down.
Felix had to run to get there.
Yeah, Felix had to complete the play. He didn't get touched, but he had to complete the play. I would like to give him credit for that, yes.
But you could tell they still don't have a secondary dude. But if you can have Jones with 3 guys, that's a lot more functional than 2 guys and not a lot else. So that helps because it's just 1 or 2 more wins per game, 1 or 2 more pressures per game. It is a crazy amount of difference that makes in terms of pressure consistency and pressure intensity. So I thought that was great. The Falcons are a talented team. Cousins can really throw the ball. They've got a decent offense. It's not that first drive by the Falcons wasn't a fluke. They've got a lot of really good players on there. And Spags was like, No, well, I'm going to hit that magical button that says adjustments, boop, and we're done. This is going to be great. And so it was cool to see them again. That fourth quarter, the fourth quarter they pulled off was a game-saving thing, and that's the second game in a row that the defense by far was the impetus behind the win as opposed to the offense.
Do you want me to say my Nick Bolton thing? It might be the last Nick Bolton thing we have to say this week. I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. I think we've covered Bolton so much the first 3 weeks that it gets borderline exhausting, I think, in terms of I think we know who he is.
I'm turning my hat around. Listen, friends.
I like it.
Friends and family.
Yeah.
Dearly beloved. We're gathered here today to acknowledge that Nick Bolton is absolutely at his best when he is moving forward, shooting gaps, and putting his hands on big men that want to run the other direction. Nick Bolton is really good at those things, and that's a valuable skill set. Yeah. How much is that worth? Not $15 million per year. And this is partially, I actually think we've been responsible about the Nick Bolton discourse on this show over the years, but this is a consequence of being too online or not online at all, depending on where you end up falling on the spectrum of all of this. The Nick Bolton #discourse has never been about if he is a good signal caller, processor, aligner, run stuffer. Things right now that I don't know if Drew Tranquil is actually doing at a very high level. Another conversation we can get to at some point.
I'm listening.
But Seth is leaving the shot, but still listening. And frankly, I believe him. I'm just explaining it to the listening audience. It was a good game from Nick Bolton, who did quintessential Nick Bolton things. Yes. And if you want to argue that guy in that role is worth X, Y, or Z amount of money, I'm willing to entertain that depending on what your X, Y, or Z numbers might actually be. I don't want Leo Chanel backpedaling and turning his hips and trying to run with Kyle Pitts. I love Leo Chanel. Both of those things are pretty easily held for me. I think what happened in week 1 and week 2 was that Nick Bolton's weaknesses were exposed in 4K HD high resolution for all of us to see. In week 3, you saw Nick Bolton's strengths in 4K right there in prime time, stopping Bijan Robinson and Kirk Cousins' offense.
God, what a tackle.
We're not going to learn anything against this Chargers team in terms of Seth and I are playing left tackle and right tackle, and Nate may be quarterbacking. It is bleak there. So if we get a huge George Karlaftis game, that'd be awesome. I'd love to see it in LA, sure. But it's not doing it against Joe Alt, right? Because of the state of the injuries there in LA.
Yes. I
just don't. The Chiefs aren't going to give Nick Bolton the contract this week, and they're not going to do it in season at any point anyway. And maybe the part of it where I can also go ahead and wave a little bit of not a white flag. I can agree to a truce. We don't need to reassess Nick Bolton every single week. Week 1 was so atrocious that it was like, holy bleep, everybody, what is going on?
He clearly hadn't played in the preseason. He clearly wasn't himself, and he was shot.
Which we acknowledged every step along the way. And when there is a team that wants to stretch the Chiefs horizontally, if he has to try to beat somebody to a spot on the sideline, it's still going to be ugly even when he's knocked the rust off. Because it's been ugly whenever he's had to do that his entire career. It's also been beauty whenever it's, hey, you've got Leo Chanel and Mike Pennell, who have rhyming names and can put out about 3 tons of force between the two of them when moving in the same direction. They're like horses, where when they work together, they become stronger by a multiplying factor. That's in front of you. You got to get through the mess and go get that guy and bring him down back there. Justin Reed may have also been in a position to end up making that tackle short of the first down. There was no doubt when Nick Bolton got back there. That is valuable. That is worth celebrating. That is good for the defense. I still don't want to play him like Fred Warner. If he shows us things he's not shown us before over the rest of the season, it'll change his offseason conversation.
That'd be incredible, too.
But we're just not. But that's not where we're at right now. And we don't need to be. And that's okay. Good football player. Not a guy that I would rebuild my salary cap around for the next 4 or 5 years. And that was true before week 1. It was true after week 1. It was true before week 3. It's true after week 3. That's where I'm at. Yep. That's my Nick Bolton thing.
And you know what? I think we're good on that. And is that true about horses?
Let me see if I can verify that.
Yeah, you do that. I'll talk really briefly about Leo Chanel, who,
yes, please.
Again, limited snaps. It's an interesting thing. I almost got myself sidetracked with the corners because Jalen Watson, by the way, is so CB2 at this point that
Najee Johnson is clearly CB3, by the way. Joshua Williams did not play a defensive snap against Atlanta.
Williams really hurt himself with a couple of busted coverages, and he's in a position this year that's kind of similar to the one last year where they have an option that they're comfortable with. Now, Johnson has had a few blown coverages in his own right. And one of those, when him and Tranquil, although that might have been Tranquil's fault, honestly. But I also understand why Tranquil's like, hang on, this is a wide receiver, bud. What are we doing? I get that. So Watson has been good at wide receiver, at cornerback too. With his ball skills, honestly, I think Jalen Watson could be like a downfield threat, but that's neither here nor there. Leo has been better this year than he was last year, and that's helped make up for them missing Willie Gay Jr. to an extent. Shamari Connor has taken a step forward this year. They seem to have really started to find his role a bit. I loved Shamari Connor as a box safety. Absolutely love it. I love having him there. Frankly, I think the Chiefs should spend way more time in 3 safety sets. They spend a ton of time in 3 safety sets already. But when they have Cook, Reed, and Connor on the field at the same time, I love it. Hicks hasn't. I saw a question there, where's Hicks been? It's just hard to get on the field when they've got 3 safeties they really like. Honestly, that's the real problem there. The thing I would say, like the total takeaway, how about that Chiefs defense? I love that that's the idea there. It clearly has the potential. It's already good. Similar to last year when we were kind of surprised that the defense started off good. And then as the defense formed throughout the season, now the defense actually, it started off really good and then got really, really good and just got better and better as the year went along, but it started off at a higher level. This year, it started off at a higher level again. Not quite as good as last year, but here's my argument. I would argue it's as good as the defense was this time last year before Charles Omenihu came back. And the fact that that's happening despite losing Snead, Gay, and Edwards. Gay and Edwards, they were important cogs. And the fact that they are clearly still a really good defense. Turn on Sunday Ticket some Sunday and watch other defenses. I remember probably about 3 or 4 years ago, and Spags has managed to coax some decent defenses out of the Chiefs over the course of his time with the Chiefs, and that's one reason why they've won multiple Super Bowls. But this year and last year especially, if you turn on a Chiefs game and then you turn on, another random NFL game, it used to be I would watch other teams fly around on defense and think, man, they look a step faster. Now I watch other teams, and this is a pure subjective, just gut feeling thing, but if you watch other teams, the vast majority of teams, except a few of them, you think, man, those guys are a little slow on the ball. They're a little less... They're just not as quick. They don't tackle quite as hard. The Chiefs fly around. They still have, because people were worried about whether or not they would continue that without Snead, who was a tone setter. You know who else is a tone setter? Jalen Watson and Trent McDuffie. And Brian Cook, who hits like a maniac. Connor hits like a maniac. All their linebackers are nuts. Like, these guys, they really are an incredibly physical team. They look unbelievably not fun to play, to the point to where I actually had a subscriber, and I'm so sorry I'm not remembering your name right now. No, it's not going to get there. I'm sorry. That has nothing to do with you and everything to do with me.
Let's just call him Josh.
Sent me a really great question saying, I wonder what teams' records are the week after they play the Chiefs. Because we just watched what happened.
The Bengals have actually never won a game the week after they played the Chiefs. I haven't Googled it, but I'm still looking at the horse thing, but I'm pretty sure that's true.
I'm starting to believe they've never won a game except when they played the Chiefs.
Lou Anarumo rips off his Lou Anarumo mask and reveals Bill Belichick underneath just for the Chiefs week, and then Lou Anarumo takes over the rest of the year.
It's like Mike Williams with the Chargers syndrome.
Yes.
He'd play the Chiefs. It's like 17 catches for 218 yards and 3 touchdowns. What were his totals on the year? 19 catches for 300 yards and 2 touchdowns. And so it's really cool to see, because That's one thing to take away from a game that you made a really good observation, I think. By the time week 16 rolls around, we're not going to remember this game. Maybe by the time week 10 rolls around, we're not going to remember this game, but they won it.
Yep.
It's a game they might have lost in years past. And because, yet again, their defense is maybe as good as it was last year. We'll see. Need more pass rush, but we'll see when Amenahu comes back. Please come back soon, Charles Amenahu. Because I really want that. Because you're a really good player.
You want to know my tiny hater thing that I was thinking about earlier?
Ooh, I'd love to hear it.
Last year, he came back as the freshest guy on the field at the midseason point. This year, he's going to be coming back whenever that is after rehabbing for however many months it takes. He had an extra. There was almost an advantage to the timing of his suspension and stuff last year. Right now, he's working to get back. And it's just, I of course believe that he will be the best pass rusher in football. But
dang it. Well,
do you want to hear the best I've got on my horse fact checking?
Yeah.
So here's the thing. I do believe this is true, and I believe I listened. I think I remember this from a podcast of some sort that I can't remember the specifics of. And now other people are now doing this.
I'm already ready to accept this as absolute truth.
Don't let me be the podcast passer on of information that you're going to use in a research project. I would ask. Don't cite this show as your source. But
it's basically biblical at this
basically
point.
Biblical. The issue is I have found several sources that confirm this, but it's from several Quora posts and a Substack, and I'm worried that it's not as scientific. But some people have given the physics based answers for this. The thing I'm going to rip from a Substack here is that. Once fully grown, horses are capable of pulling, these specific horses, whatever, are capable of pulling 8,000 pounds. An interesting fact is that when two horses pull a load together, they don't just pull 16,000 pounds, but the team of two can pull 22,000 pounds. If that isn't impressive enough, when they train together, they can pull up to 32,000 pounds. So there is some sort of, this is the dude mechanic for horses, which is that if you have two equally yoked, it's also biblical, you have two equally yoked horses, they are more than just as strong as the two of them individually pulling their own loads. Who knew?
Yeah.
It's on the internet.
A cord of 3 prongs is not easily broken, or some such thing. And
here, this includes more physics words. If the pulling force of a horse is enough to overcome the static friction, if it is proven that the static coefficient of friction is lower than the dynamic coefficient of friction, so the velocity at which an object will move with one horse will be lesser than half the velocity due to the pulling force of the two horses. In this case, the pulling power of the second horse is used to overcome the dynamic coefficient of friction, which is lesser.
Oh, that makes sense, actually. I mean, the hard part is
Let's take a break.
Moving. Oh!
Shop Chiefs tickets and more with no fees. Shop Chiefs tickets and more with no fees.
We appreciate you supporting KC Sports Network by listening to our podcast. You have helped us become the highest ranked Chiefs podcast network in 2022 and 2023. And don't forget about our daily Substack newsletter, the best written analysis you can find on the Chiefs straight to your inbox every day. kcsn.substack.com.
I love a great deal as much as the next guy, but I'm not going to crawl through a bed of hot coals just to save a few bucks. It has to be easy. No hoops, no BS. So when Mint Mobile said it was easy to get wireless for $15 a month with the purchase of a 3-month plan, I called them on it. And turns out it really is that easy to get wireless for $15 a month. The longest part of the process was the time I spent on hold waiting to break up with my old provider. To get started, go to mintmobile.com/KCSNOWG. There you'll see that right now, all 3-month plans are only $15 a month, including the unlimited plan. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/KCSNOWG. That's mintmobile.com/KCSNOWG. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/KCSNOWG. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details.
So this one says, in a sense, it's probably more accurate to say that 2 horses can pull an object with greater force and thence faster than double what a single horse might achieve. But what do you think a podcast does when they get all 3 hosts back together? Hey, Nate Taylor, how's it going?
It's going great. I have done my best to dissuade people from the
How many horses would it take to get Travis Kelce to have a productive game, Nate?
the hellhole that is the internet. I've done my best to provide substantive evidence, constructive, concrete things you can take with you in the event that you check out a little website called theathletic.com.
That'll be
theathletic.com.
You mean nytimes.com/the-athletic, I believe. I was trying to access some of your work earlier today. I kept running into it.
Sure. It doesn't automatically take you from one place and
it did. There was something else.
Put you on the mothership
earlier. I got to the mothership eventually. I did get to the mothership eventually. We may just make Thursday's show the Travis Kelce show at this point because
sure.
Seth, you've gotten into it a little bit, and Nate, what you have missed from Seth and I so far is that we talked about the defense and horses at great length. So we are ready to talk about the offensive side of the ball with you from here. And we've all chatted about this. Seth has written about Rashee Rice and then kind of the everything else. Put a pin in Rice. Let's go back to the top of the rundown and go kind of big picture on the fact that as the defense handled its business, did its job, et cetera, the offense had another game of feeling a little stuffy, of not quite being able to hit all the plays they want, some miscues here and there. Again, I'm not actually worried about this, but watching Jaden Daniels turn the Bengals defense into an absolute disaster last night did have me like completely forget that the Chiefs did play that defense, because I was like, oh, when the Chiefs play a crummy defense, no, they played this. All right, never mind. But with that in mind, Seth, or Nate, you can go first. You went to Atlanta for this football game, right? You deserve a little time on the mic.
Welcome to Atlanta.
What's going on with the offensive side?
As Jermaine Dupri says, is that where the players play?
Yes, it is. It was great to see him, Devin Hester, T.I. The list goes on and on.
Was Fabulous there?
Sadly, I don't think so. Did they show him on the broadcast?
I'm just saying things about rap from the early 2000s.
I saw JID. What's your favorite JID song, Seth?
I hate you so much right now.
Great Tiny Desk concert if you want to listen to that.
Yeah.
Fabulous Tiny Desk.
Yeah.
You don't know Tiny Desk concerts? Those seem like
these
they'd be
are
up
made
your
up
alley.
words. You know what?
You don't know this?
You know what?
Tiny Desk is an NPR thing, Seth. I know it's a little secular for you, but God.
These are made. What? NPR. Oh, I'm sorry, comrade. I'm just kidding. Okay, nope. We're not live, are we? That was a joke, everyone. Too easy, leaning into the brand there. I don't know what a Tiny Desk concert is.
I wonder if Seth's ever going to revisit his brand.
You guys are just
Shop Chiefs tickets and more with no fees. Plus, save big with code KCSN at ticketsforless.com, the official ticket provider of KC Sports Network.
Seth or Nate, what was it like in Atlanta?
Hold
Tiny
on.
Desk concert. That's a made up word.
But look, before we continue, I just
Tucker, you thought a little thing like thrown to a break would stop Nate. We can stop this podcast and he'd drive up to my office to tell me this. Yes, Nate?
There have been hundreds of Tiny Desk concerts. They all have 1 million views. Many of them have more. The Usher Watch This thing, that was from Tiny Desk.
Yeah, that was from Tiny Desk. See, kids, there is a song by J.I.D., that is not actually on any musical platform because of some legal nonsense. My favorite JID song is 2007.
I don't even know if I'm familiar with 2007.
It's on YouTube. It was supposed to be the final song on his most recent album, and
really,
it didn't. I just recommend everybody. Seth, this video has 2 million views. It's on Dreamville's YouTube page. Yeah, it's on his label's YouTube page, Dreamville.
YouTube.
Yes, YouTube.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I think you're familiar with it.
All right. So just make this easier.
It's one of the.
What is Tiny Desk a company? Like
NPR is a company.
Yeah, I know. Okay, I do know what NPR is.
Okay.
Everyone should support national radio and the proliferation of information, by the way.
He goes by JID and JID, by the way, so I'm not accepting that. Tucker was getting nervous about you can go either way on this. He's gone either way on this. I've checked. I've done my notes.
But 2007 by JID is one of the best hip hop songs that incorporates someone's actual football career, and it's done amazingly well. And it still bothers me to this day that it is not truly a part of his album the way it was intended to be a part of his album, even though that album in and of itself is great.
Great.
Now, when it comes to Sunday's game in Atlanta, as I had the pleasure of seeing all 22 in a different view than obviously Arrowhead for the first time this season, Darius Griffin says it's on the album. Problem is, some samples did not get cleared. So again, it's not the intended song.
Got it. Okay.
That he nor the label wants. There's been some thoughts about Kendrick Lamar not doing right by Dreamville, which in bigger context 2 years later, kind of an important thing. Now look, it's on the album. But just go to the YouTube page. I
haven't heard this version. That's great.
The YouTube page is the actual real song. That nonsense on Spotify, Apple TV, that ain't the real song. Okay, that's just the song that they could clear because 2007 is that good of a song that they wanted some version of stream metrics to be a part of the album. Now, what'd you ask me again, Josh?
Atlanta.
How is Atlanta?
Oh, okay.
Sir, the question was, how was Atlanta?
The game was as weird as I predicted it was going to be, right? Because guess what? It wasn't in the final minutes. It was, technically it was Kirk Cousins down a touchdown or needing a touchdown to win. You know, it mostly played up to script. A few things. I had lunch with a good friend, Cody Goodwin. I had breakfast with Cody, and we had the pleasure of having peach cobbler French toast.
Oh, I hadn't even thought about that having the possibility of existing.
It was incredible, and I should have made it. Now, look, ladies and gentlemen, the Chiefs, as our good friend Randy Jazzerli tells us on Twitter, and it was kind of shocking to me last night when I saw it. You know, the Chiefs have scored 75 points, guys. That is the second most in the AFC.
Nuts.
The Chiefs' offense is technically a top 10 unit, even though everybody's disappointed, even though Travis Kelce can't get the ball. You know my favorite part of this game, now that I've had close to 48 hours to think about it, fellas? They're doing shit and giggles plays and getting away with it.
They're playing with their food and they're winning.
They are running so much bullshit in the red zone. It is astonishing. Okay.
They've unlocked a new wishbone.
Yes.
Which, by the way, I am all in favor of getting Leo Chanel on the field
for
purposes of hitting people.
Right.
But we got to stop cramping the box in the red zone or on the goal line. If it's 1st and 5, sure, run the ball. I'm totally fine running the ball. But run the ball out of 11 personnel, spread out. Don't let them jam 11 guys in the box, because what that means is even one guy misses a block, you've got a problem.
Correct.
And there's 11 blocks needed, or 10 really.
Yes.
Make it to where there's 5 blocks that are needed. Let Humphrey and Tooney hit those duo blocks and
I'm sorry. What if we motion Patrick Mahomes out?
Yeah,
to receive.
That's got to stop.
This is the one for me. This is the one for me.
They are 3-0 running shit and giggle plays because it's September and they know it's September and they're getting away with it. Okay, I understand why Bengal fans, Bill fans, hell, even AFC West fans, right? I mean, apparently we learned yesterday that half of Denver watched Sunday's game, which. Congrats to them.
90% of Cincinnati.
Correct. So I understand it that you're like, they can't get getting away with this. And honestly, man, their defense is bailing them out because when you have a chance to score 6, potentially 7 points instead of 3, no, man, let's motion the quarterback out of the backfield. What?
Guys, so Rashee Rice has 2 receiving touchdowns on the year, right? 3 players have 1. Xavier
Correct.
Worthy on a busted coverage, and then 2 designed touchdowns to Juju Smith-Schuster and Wanya Morris.
They're 3-0.
The 3 players who are tied with 1 receiving touchdown are Xavier Worthy reluctantly, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Wanya Morris.
Let me just say, which, I mean, this might bring us to like the offense as a whole. One thing that's kind of interesting, there was a good article in the Ringer. I never say his name correct. Sheil
Kapadia. I haven't read
you.
this, but he works for the Ringer.
Yeah, does a terrific job.
Oh, you mean Ben Solak? He's not there.
No, this is no.
I never pronounced this name right.
Ben
Is it
Solak doesn't work for
Roger?
doesn't work for the Ringer anymore. He works for ESPN. A lot of things are moving, guys.
A lot of things are
agency
moving.
this year was
There's
crazy.
no sure things in this industry. One thing that he pointed out talking about the Chiefs is their success rate. And so here's the thing. This is going to sound like a made-up stat to try to make people feel better, but it's not.
good, though.
It's a stat that actually really matters in terms of predictiveness. Whenever you're
Yes.
talking about stats, you can talk about the basic stats, which tell you what happened in the game, right?
Mhm.
Yards, touchdowns, etc. That matters when discussing their performance in that game. Other things matter too, though, because certain things can end a drive, like a bad interception on 2nd down in the red zone, on a play that got the cover, it got the look it wanted so much that Travis Kelce, if you watch the All-22, his back was turned and he had his arm in the air because he knew the boundary corner had followed him, and he knew
We got
that there
him.
was-
Wait,
he
what?
knew that there was a gap there, and 2 things happened there. Justin Simmons made a great break on it, and Mahomes did not make a throw that he would normally make in terms of layering it over the top. Simmons got there as fast as he could, made a great break on the ball, still had to jump 3 feet in the air to grab it. That ball is 2 more feet in the air and a little more towards the corner, and Gray is prancing in the end zone, and we're like, oh, we're good. But anyway, success rate looks at that kind of thing. And so if you thought to yourself as you were watching the game, man, the Chiefs are moving the ball, and then like you get to the red zone, you're like, man, they did a thing again. Like what?
Mhm.
That is both things are true. And he pointed out the Chiefs' success rate in that game. And so what success rate is it's different on like 1st, 2nd, and 3rd down. So a 6-yard gain on 1st and 10 is successful in that statistically it makes you significantly more likely to get a 1st down, right?
Correct.
A 6-yard gain on 3rd and 10 is not successful because it's 3rd and 10. So these are statistics that are designed to try to quantify things that we intuitively understand about the sport. Their success rate was fine. The Chiefs, the thing that distinguishes them, and I know this maybe gets into the what's up with Mahomes aspect of things, the thing that distinguishes the problems they're having this year versus the problems they're having this time last year is that they're dudes, they needed to be dudes, just were not dudes. Like, they just couldn't play better.
Or the
They
guys couldn't even be guys.
They
use your
just couldn't be.
parlance.
Yes, the guys couldn't be guys. This year, you know who if I were to point to one person, and I'm saying this with a bit of caveat that I'll get to in a second. If there were one person who I blame most for the Chiefs only scoring 22 points on Sunday,
For underachieving, perhaps?
yes, it's Patrick Mahomes.
Mm.
He killed 1 3rd down with a throw behind Rashee Rice that spun him around and kept him from gaining. Well, that was on 2nd down. So there's a 3rd and 2 where P. Ryan got stuffed, right? That was the one where they audibled, then unaudibled, then audibled again, and then they had to snap. The nose tackle blows up the play. Sometimes you just lose. Shouldn't have even been 3rd down because on 2nd and 8, Mahomes hits Rice on a whip route. Should have led him to the outside shoulder. There was plenty of room there. The play design had gotten him space, and because it was a poor throw, he's got to stop and spin for it. So he no longer has the ability to run to the sideline. Rashee Rice had a drop later on in the game. The throw was pretty well behind him. He had a ton of room there running a drag. They would have probably scored. There was about a minute left in the half. They would have gotten in the midfield. The throw to Gray. Tough throw. One we've seen him make many times. He makes that throw. That's a touchdown. He leads Xavier Worthy to the right side of the end zone which I get why he put the ball where he did there too. That could be a touchdown. Mahomes had multiple throws, and he commented on this. His feet were they just were all over the place, no matter what the throw was. And so that's actually weirdly encouraging to me because we know Mahomes will be better. We didn't know last year if Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney, or MVS could really play much better. We know Patrick Mahomes can play better. We know Travis Kelce can play better. We know Rashee Rice can play better. And we can see the things that look like they are productive. They're just a beat off over and over.
Now, one of the things to Seth's point that I think is even more concerning is the first play of the game is gorgeous. It's for the offense. It's a gorgeous play action, get them to go one way. And then look, Rashee Rice is wide open. Should have like a 30-yard gain, right? Right, Seth? Right?
Yes, that was it was like a leak concept where it was delayed with a pick between Watson and Worthy, and Worthy's guy ran into Watson, and Watson just tanked over him, by the way. He went full Leo Chanel, knocked the guy over. Didn't really, I know some people think that Worthy was open there. I think given the angle, I don't really think it was.
Well, the play's not designed for him.
It's not. That is a one-read play. That is Rashee Rice, and it worked beautifully. He would still be running, like... And then, but you go ahead. It worked beautifully. It's essentially a variant of like a leak concept where it sends Rashee Rice into the secondary after everyone's vacated where he should be.
Yes.
It was beautiful.
So instead of, to Patrick's point about his footwork, instead of taking his time, getting under himself from a footwork standpoint, he basically uses his entire arm. He basically short hops it to Rashee Rice, and it's not a positive play. So that's the first play of the game. He is not under pressure.
Yep.
There's no structural issues. It is a perfect play call for the defense that they got for the first play. I think where things got even more alarming for the offense is how the first drive ended. So you have the first play that does not go the way it's intended because the quarterback doesn't have proper footwork, which he acknowledges.
Yep.
The drive ends because of the interception, but for the first time this season, and I think this will serve the Chiefs much later down the road, it was loud in there. It was loud in Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and that's the first road game they've played together, particularly trying to get the protection scheme right in the red zone with an undrafted rookie who messed up the protection call, who just absolutely blew it. Patrick knows the blitz is coming. Carson leaks out to try to be like a check down option instead of going across the formation, which, to Carson Steele's credit, he does do that later in the game on the longest completion of the game, which is a 27-yard catch for Rashee Rice. But the drive ends because I thought we had the protection call right. Andy Reid, hey, it's 6-on-6. We should have the right call. The rookie makes a mistake, and instead of him using his lower body to drive the ball where it's supposed to go, he has to throw it basically flat-footed and a little bit falling away because he got hit on the play. And he anticipates getting hit on the play because the protection was messed up by Carson Steele. So in a weird way, the first drive of the game, despite them winning, despite them getting in the red zone constantly, their quarterback was sped up mentally and his footwork was already bleeped. And you won the game. But moving forward, that goes to the issues that Seth just said earlier, because even though he had clean pockets at times, he was still operating faster than I think he needed to. Which does deteriorate some of your accuracy, some of your precision, your decision-making. And there were too many times, and this is in my column, which you could read on The Athletic later on, he sped himself so quickly that he wasn't going through his reads. He was just, hey, is Rashee Rice open? Boom, there it is. And Travis Kelce is 15 yards downfield going, I'm wide open. What is happening? Well, I'm sped up, and I don't want to get hit, and I've already thrown an interception, and my footwork's all over the place, and they still won.
Yep. That's a Mahomes type performance that traditionally they've lost. Now, and again, I haven't charted every throw. Maybe I'll be surprised when I look at the dropbacks. Against Cincinnati, I was surprised how solid he was outside of a few really horrendous throws. Maybe the same thing will happen here. I doubt it, because I just don't think he was very accurate throughout the day. Even on some, there was a 3rd and 6 that was completed to Rice, where Rice had to dive at his feet to get it, and then rolled to the first down.
And that's the play Travis Kelce is open 15 yards down the field on a corner route that he absolutely whips Jesse Bates, and he's just like, I'm open. Well, where's the ball?
Yeah, and I get why Mahomes makes the throw he makes there on a 3rd and 6, but also, I mean, you could go low high instead, or high low instead of low high.
Yep.
So it's just interesting. Even last year, they lost those games when Mahomes was less than stellar. They just won the first one of them. How many of those does the NFL think it's going to get? I don't know. So it's just interesting. It was nice to see him talk about the footwork immediately thereafter. And we've seen him come back from way worse games.
It's all interspersed here, but I want you guys to talk about the receivers more. And Seth, you've written about Rashee Rice glowingly, and then the Xavier Worthy situation is a little bit strange. Since you mentioned the explosive plays and everything and success rate, I want to go to the running game briefly, because these all came out together within a little 5-minute bucket yesterday, and it worked out great for timing and not so great for results. I had tweeted out that the Chiefs' longest runs of the 2024 season are Xavier Worthy's touchdown run against Baltimore, 21 yards there, and then Patrick Mahomes' 15-yard scramble against Atlanta. I think P. Ryan and Steele both capped out at 9-yard longs. I think Pacheco had an 11. That is not an explosive running game. But then the one and only Matt Lane of this very network said, they're second in rushing success rate. And then, no kidding, 5 minutes later, an account tweeted out explosive versus consistent rushing offenses. And the Chiefs are up there. This was before Monday Night Football, so I don't know if the Bengals moved here, but pre-Monday Night Football, the Lions were, let's say, 5th or 6th in explosiveness, but number 1 in success rate. So they're the team in the top right corner. Baltimore's over there as well, which makes some sense. But the Chiefs are the second most successful rushing game, again, by success rate, which takes into account those down and distances. Are you running the ball successfully? More than half the Chiefs' runs have been deemed successful by this metric. That's only true for the Lions, Chiefs, and Bengals before Monday Night Football, more than 50%.
Wow.
The issue is that the Chiefs are 28th in explosiveness. Their explosive rushing rate is only higher than worst to 4th worst here, only higher than the Raiders, Rams, and Bears. Ooh. Then it's the Chiefs, and then it's the Cowboys, and then there's a little bit of, and then it's actually the Bengals after that, and also successful but not explosive, and then a little bit of a gap, and the NFL kind of meets a little bit further over to the right side of the chart.
Can I guess what
the Chiefs, for visualization, the Chiefs are top left in one of these graphs, which is typically a hard place to get in these graphs because you expect the axis to go diagonally bottom left to top right. So yes, that I think that's interesting. It's not directly related to the passing game in the literal sense, but for an offense that has moved the ball but hasn't been explosive, this also paints that picture. What you got, Nate?
Can I guess what the most explosive running play the Chiefs have had this season?
If it's not Worthy or Mahomes, I don't know what it would be. Worthy was the longest.
It has to be Worthy because it's the longest and it's a touchdown.
And it scored. Right. And it's scored from distance. That's why it's your rookie receiver and Patrick Mahomes are your most explosive rushers to this point. The one other thing on the explosive front that I think is important for the narrative, and Connor Christopherson was on this on Twitter earlier today, and I think it's a good point worth passing along. Somebody has said, oh great, the Chiefs aren't winning with style points. What a first world problem. And it's not about style points. As Connor points out, and we've seen this in the inverse for years now, When you run more plays, you have more chances to screw it up. You run more plays, there's a better chance you're going to turn the ball over, or that you're going to have to run it 3 times in a row, and now it's 4th and 4 because you weren't successful on that final run. So it's not just score fast because it's more fun, although it often is more fun.
Please.
I would like to see more of that. It is ultimately the better way to live, because if you can score on a 1-play drive, that is going to make your life easier than scoring on a 12-play drive. It's another reason that time of possession has lost all meaning as a statistic. So that's the running game sidecar that goes on to what else you guys have been talking about. Let's go to Rashee Rice, Seth, and how the receiver room came together. We've talked about, again, plenty of the ups and downs of the passing game. You went deeper on Rashee Rice in the Chief from the North newsletter, mnchiefsfan.substack.com, bit.ly/Seth really hates money. If you want to subscribe, if you haven't yet. What did you see from Rashee Rice, Seth? Where are you on the wide receiver 1 discourse?
I am buying all the stock in Rashee Rice being wide receiver 1 in this offense, which, I mean, he is statistically. He was kind of down the stretch last year, honestly. And then the playoffs hit, and Travis was like, I got this, buddy. Like, you have run to this final leg of the race, and I will take it from here, young man, and dominate the playoffs. And Rashee was pretty quiet, except for certain plays. Here's the thing with Rice, and this is what I wrote, as you said, the Chief of North newsletter. His volume was there last year. His variety was not. Basically, Reed altered his offense a bit to say, okay, the only receiver we have when MVS is not in playoff MVS mode that we can count on to do anything is Rice. And he's an incredibly explosive guy who's unbelievable after the catch. We are going to throw this ball horizontally so many times. We are going to just snap, huck it at the sideline, and then watch Rice gain 8 yards where other guys would gain 4. Fair enough. And they made it work. His route tree was so funny. Looking at some of it was just all short stuff. I used to say it was like Juju Smith-Schuster on steroids, right? What he's looked like more this year so far is prime Juju Smith-Schuster. There's a difference. Before Juju Smith-Schuster's knees, kind of betrayed him, which happens. My body's in the process of betraying me.
Look pretty good on that 13-yard crossing route, though. Looked pretty
Well, man,
good.
If only there was someone else that could give these mesh concepts to, that get a pick run for them. Although, you know what? Spacing stuff, I get it. They trust him and Watson to have the exact right spacing. One of my favorite things, by the way, is Justin Watson running these rub routes or these pick plays where if he made contact, it would definitely be a penalty. But he goes, ooh, in front of the guy and then gets out of their way because there's no penalty for that.
Right.
Because there's no contact. So I don't think they can call OPI, even though he's clearly committing OPI. He is interfering. But he's not touching him. It's great.
He and Noah Gray are excellent at it.
No, they love that. So here's what I would say in terms of with Rice, what you're seeing this year. Nate Tice mentioned this. I agree with it to an extent, not entirely. Some of the routes that they used to have for Travis Kelce, they now have for Rashee Rice. And what that really means is that Travis Kelce is no longer being asked to do everything, which is only good news. They are spreading out and isolating Rice, who has gotten better at beating man coverage, at least on shallow routes this year. It's a big deal. He's gotten better at opening up down the field at the intermediate and even deep levels a little bit this year. It's a big deal. And it's that variety that makes me think wide receiver 1 stuff is in reach for him. You see a noticeable improvement in those areas, and given his already existing abilities, it's awesome to see. And so they still need to fill out the room around him. It was great seeing Juju get into the end zone, and if he's your wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4, probably wide receiver 4, really. Watson's your wide receiver 3 because he runs, where they want him to all the time. I think you're doing okay. The next step is let's give Xavier Worthy some big boy routes. He wasn't the one who ran the wrong route on that last play. And Andy gave it a little bit of insight into that, which is great. And I'm sure they've talked on the lab about this at length, in that it's a mesh crosser combination concept, basically, where it's such a great concept because it beats man coverage and zone coverage, in that the mesh concept with Travis Kelce running from the other side of the field will set a pick for anyone who's covering Worthy. If it's zone coverage, you've got a levels concept with Rice running the crosser, but he's supposed to be like 10 yards behind Worthy, not like 4.
And running more diagonal instead of
running
flat.
more diagonal, because he's supposed to be pulling coverage away from Worthy if they're in zone, because pre-snap you don't know whether it's man or zone. Now, I don't know what defense, by the way, the Falcons were playing, but it was don't cover Worthy, because like no one followed him. It was weird. So you ended up with one guy following Rice, and he kind of ended up in the vicinity. Just a little goofy thing. I'm more encouraged by Worthy out of this game, despite the fact they're still trying to figure out a way to get him involved, than I was after week 2 and maybe even week 1, because I see him running some big boy routes and doing what he ought to be doing. And I see him being a guy who sees the field well enough. Yes, I know Mahomes tried to throw the ball to him and he stopped, and I'm sure it was frustrating for Mahomes in the moment. And then it's clear they had a conversation where he said, I saw Rasheed. I didn't want to drag anyone into his passing lane, so I stopped. I'm going to go with I'm tentatively encouraged by a rookie seeing the field well enough to do what he thinks is best there. Now, I'm not sure what Reed told him. Reed might have told him, hey, next time, ignore that. Just finish out your route anyway. And maybe that's the coaching point there. But I'm kind of encouraged because you actually can see him look at Rice as they both make their break. And you can almost see him thinking, dude, what are you doing? And that's weirdly encouraging to me. So my hope is to see continued big boy routes for Worthy, because Rice is your wide receiver 1. You don't need Worthy to be wide receiver 1. You need him to be a competent wide receiver 2. And eventually defenses are going to get tired of paying as much attention as they are. Maybe not quite as much as Patrick is saying.
They're not.
But on film they are. At least some. There's plenty of, if you watch when Kelce runs into zone, oh man, you're gonna make me clip this, aren't you? I will show you.
I'm not saying all the time. I'm just saying.
Oh yeah.
Based on my eyes, he's getting less attention, which is weird. He's almost getting, at least from the Falcons standpoint, and a little bit of the. I mean, the thing is, the Bengals play them so well that it's kind of hard to totally assess. But
when Hendrickson took the game over, it was tough
correct.
to really look at.
Correct. So the Falcons. When Patrick says there were 3 guys on Travis, I'm like,
that's not true.
That ain't true. And there were less traditional double teams than I anticipated. And also, it's kind of hard to tell when you throw the ball behind the line of scrimmage 17 times.
Yeah, also true. And you made a really good point that a couple of the times that he came open, he wasn't getting the ball. They are... I know it was either Jeff Schwartz or Mitch Schwartz that kind of floated the theory that they really are trying to figure out what the next iteration of the offense looks like, built around someone not named Travis Kelce. They are, but it is, you are right. It's not as much as Pat made it sound like. That's not the only problem here.
Correct.
But eventually teams are going to get tired of Rasheed Rice chewing them up. And you need Worthy to be a legitimate threat at that point. And if he is, we're cooking with gas.
Sorry, guys, I don't know if you can hear that, but the alarm that goes off whenever the show's over an hour is actually playing right now.
Beat off over and over. Just a beat off over and over. Just a beat off over and over. Just a beat off over and over.
So that means we have cleared the 60-minute mark, and guys, we need to go ahead and wrap things up here. Because Seth's been a beat off all day. We will talk more about Wanya Morris and Travis Kelce on Thursday. We did not talk about Wanya getting the start and holding down that job. Listen,
yeah, he did.
Both guys got in the game, as Andy Reid told you they would on Friday. Kingsley was just in for 2 snaps. And
Caliendo got in the game, too.
I am going to give myself partial credit because I believed that Wanya Morris would probably get 2 snaps in that game and that Kingsley would have the entire starting job there. He did not. We'll hear more from Reed about that tomorrow. And again, I know we want to take a little closer look at a few things from Chiefs Falcons, and then the Chargers game's already going to be weird because half the Chargers that matter aren't going to play.
Yeah.
So we'll get there when we get there. Nate, you've got a depth chart, you've got a roster, you may even have a story. So at your leisure, sir, get us out of here.
All right.
Seth looked at me like I misspoke on this show, and he's like, "Oh, I don't know, they might clip that, man. Be careful."
All right, now, ladies and gentlemen, this is what they give you in the press box before a football game. They give you the depth chart. They give you everybody on there. If I can see this, hey, look, that's the starting unit for your Kansas City Chiefs on the offense, and then this is the one on defense, and then obviously, hey, there's the Falcons specialist. Hey, who's the referee again? Oh, it's that guy, Trey Blake. Okay, cool. Anyway, stick with me now. Okay, this is no longer a roster sheet that is given to reporters before a football game in the press box. Okay, and action. That's a nice play right there. That's a nice play. Okay, first down. Okay. Hey, where are we in the game? Second quarter? Yeah, that's right. I did say both tackles are going to play. Hey, get me to play with Kingsley so they can rotate in. Give me to play with Kingsley, okay? I'm only doing this so I don't get caught that I was in a lie. Hey, have him run it back out there. I'm running back out there. Yeah, I'm always one step ahead.
Coach, I think Kingsley just lined up on the wrong side and we had to burn a timeout. You want to still get him that official rep?
Yeah. I can't get caught. I can't get caught in a lie. Hey, now look here, okay? It's week 3, which means this is shits and giggles time. Stay with me now. Stay with me. All right, Pat, stay with me. I'm gonna have you motion out. Hey, Leo, get your ass in there. Hey, Leo, do the thing, my man, because I need every defensive coordinator to see this. Okay, look at me. Get in that 4-point stance, because eventually, maybe the ball will come your way, son. Maybe the ball will come your way. Okay, all right, game's on the line. What if we could do another shits and giggles play just for shits and giggles? Okay, let's not run a traditional play. Nope, not gonna do it. Season's not on the line, right? Why would I do it? Hey, can I get Sky Moore, Juju Smith-Schuster, and take Travis off the field? Just take him off the field. Take him off the field. Now, will that give the indicator that it might be a running play? Shits and giggles, kids. Gotta put it on film. Gotta put it on film now. Half this game is me putting shits and giggles on film.
What are the comments just said? Delay of game.